Now every bit of the Xiaomi 12T Pro is flagship quality, from that 200 meg camera to the top tier performance and the stupidly fast 120 watt battery charge shenanigans. But unlike most flagship smartphones, you won't have to sell your firstborn in order to actually afford one, because the Xiaomi 12T Pro will cost you just £699 or £599 with the early bird offer, where they're also chucking in a free tablet. That's mental. Now, I've been using the Xiaomi 12T Pro for a few days now, so here's my early review covering the camera tech, the gaming chops, all that good stuff. I was going to have a quick whiz through the box, see what you actually get bundled with this bad boy, and for more on the latest and greatest tech, please do poke subscribe and ding that notifications bell. Cheers! So inside the box, you've got one Xiaomi 12T Pro, of course. You've got yourself an almighty 120 watt power adapter that's roughly the same size as Elon Musk's ego. Tasty bit of USB cable, whey. And if you like to keep it wrapped up, good news, Xiaomi has also bundled a condom case. And that is it, nice and tidy. Now, it probably won't massively shock you to hear that the Xiaomi 12T Pro is an absolute beast. It's a 6.78 inch smartphone with a 205 gram heft. This phone is seriously not f***ing about. Just briefly swap to a lighter colour wallpaper so you can clearly see the bezel action there. And as you can see, pretty skinny all around, but it is a flat display. It doesn't curve around the edges. Teeny wee selfie cam orifice wedged away up top, and then if we flip it around, you've got anti-glare glass around the back end of the Xiaomi 12 Pro. This right here is the black model, but you can also grab it in silver or blue if you prefer. As you can see, it gets a little bit smudgy, even this black edition. I'd say that my hands are an average level of greasy right now. I haven't just had a doner and chips or anything, but as you can see, they're a bit smudgy and oily around back. You'll definitely have to keep on buffing it up if you want it to look box fresh. Just a quick one of these should do the job. Pretty simple, straightforward design here, no real frills or flair or anything, tiny bit of Xiaomi brand in there. It looks very smart and slick all the same. Of course, the camera housing does jut somewhat from that arse end. Got that mighty 200 megapixel primary camera sensor. While the front end of the Xiaomi 12T Pro is coated in Gorilla Glass 5, so hopefully should prove quite resistant to scratches, and the rest apparently around back it's just anti-glare glass, so you might want to slap on that condom case if you want to keep it looking nice and new. And one of the areas where Xiaomi has saved a few bucks is there's no official IP water resistance rating for the Xiaomi 12T Pro. Should hopefully still be fine, even if it gets a bit moist, but yeah, just be careful all the same. Now on the software side, there's no real surprises here, although actually there is one surprise which I will mention in a bit. Tease, 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 don't click away, etc. It's Android 12 with Xiaomi's MiUI launcher slapped on top, and in this incarnation it's very similar to just regular Android. You've got an apps tray, you can drag down that notifications bar. But you do have some bonus bits like the control center, which you can drag down from the right hand side, which offers you up all of your toggles. Lots and lots of toggles and some smart home shenanigans too. And you have quite a few other bonus bits chucked on here, like a dedicated gaming mode as well, which I'll mention again in a bit. But the main surprise with the Xiaomi 12T Pro is that Xiaomi is offering 3 years of OS updates, so that's Android 13, 14 and 15, and then 4 years of security updates. And that's absolutely bloody fantastic, because quite often with Xiaomi smartphones you maybe get a year or two of support if you're lucky, but it looks like they're finally turning that corner and extending the lifespan of their products. Of course, it does beg the question, how frequent will those security updates be? Certainly when you hit year 3 and year 4, possibly not every single month. But you know what, it's a bloody start, so I am very, very thrilled indeed. What I'm decidedly less thrilled about is the fact that once again this phone comes packed with all kinds of crapware. So you got your WPS Office, your TikTok, your Tile Fun, which if I ever played it would almost certainly turn out to be a Trades Description Act special. You've got Xiaomi's many apps, of course, a web browser, video player, etc. Booking.com, which as always can bugger off.com. Unfortunately, most of this can be uninstalled, which is going to just extend the setup process somewhat. And you got yourself a simple in-display fingerprint sensor. It is just an optical effort, but this seems to work an absolute charm, even with the pre-installed screen protector. And even when my mitts are a bit moist, it doesn't seem too perturbed. And if you want to, you can use your lovely face to unlock the 12T Pro as well. Talking about your lovely face, of course, my face isn't lovely. I've got a face like a bulldog licking mustard off his bollocks. Ooh, it's sexy specs time. Pull on the waterproof pants because it's going to get wild up in here. So storage, and you've got a choice of 128 or 256 gigs of space. So tons of room to chuck on all of your media and apps and other shenanigans. Unfortunately, there is bugger all room in that SIM tray for a micro SD memory card to expand the storage, but it is a double-sided SIM tray, so 2 SIMs in there, plus there is eSIM support. You got full 5G connectivity on here. I've had no issues with the network side of things, both here and over in Munich where the phone actually launched. And it's Wi-Fi 6 as well, not quite the latest, freshest Wi-Fi 6E, but it'll definitely do the job. Now when it comes to your media chops, the Xiaomi 12T Pro can easily stand side by side with any of the biggest flagship smartphones out there right now. You got a 6.78-inch crystal res AMOLED display with a full HD plus resolution, 2712 by 1220 pixels, and you got full Dolby Vision as well as HDR10 Plus streaming support. A nice natural looking colours here as well. The GNCD factor, or just noticeable colour difference, is 0.28, which that's pretty good apparently. More vibrant photos and videos really pop off that almighty display, and it is a huge one as well, so nice comfortable viewing for your movies, your shows, whatever you fancy. And unlike other recent flagships like the iPhones for instance, no massive notch cutting its way into the action when you go full screen. In high brightness mode, the panel tops off at 900 nits, not the best effort around, but it's more than enough when it's sunny outside and you just want to see what is going on. You've got all the usual display options, and if you dive into refresh rate, by default it is set to a dynamic mode which can automatically scale between 30, 60, 90 and 120 Hz refresh. Otherwise you can custom choose between 60 and 120. Now for your audio, you've got a stereo speaker setup like pretty much every other flagship phone, and apparently Armand Gordon helped Xiaomi with the audio output, and in case you ever forget, that is actually printed on the top of the phone. And I've got to say, I've been really impressed by these speakers so far. Let's just bump up the volume. And not only is the Infinix 020 a 6.7 incher, but also, as you can see, they're fairly chunky bezels surrounding that display. So certainly quite a girthy wee beastie. Certainly got a real kick when you boost that volume all the way up. It doesn't sound tinny, unlike some other smartphone speakers when you do boost the volume. And a reasonably decent balance between the top and bottom speakers as well, so overall pretty good stuff. The wireless streaming via Bluetooth 5.2 seems absolutely fine. I've had no issues with that either. And of course, yes, there's no headphone jack. Did you even have to ask? Now the everyday running on this bad boy, absolutely perfect, as you would imagine, silky smooth, especially if you jack it all the way up to 120 Hz, why not? Performance comes courtesy of Qualcomm's premium top tier chipset, the Snapdragon 8 Plus Gen 1, backed by either 8 or 12 gigs of RAM. Here in the UK we get a measly 8 gigs, boo hiss, but yeah, it's more than enough. And if you like to bunk off work to go punch creepy, weird little hill trolls in the face with a massive club and fry them with lightning, well, good news, Genshin Impact plays absolutely perfectly on this thing, even when you max out the detail settings, bump it up to 60 FPS, etc. I did see a couple of little dips in that frame rate actually when I was playing it on the higher detail settings, until I dove into Xiaomi's gaming tools and I activated the turbo boost, and that seems to sort it right out, flawless from there on in. You've got lots of other handy little features that you can tinker with in here. You can adjust all various settings without having to come out of the game and then go back in. And I didn't witness any performance throttling here either. The Xiaomi 12T Pro managed to keep its cool even through an extended gaming session. That display is nice and responsive, no complaints at all really. Xiaomi has managed to cram a 5000 mAh battery inside of the 12T Pro, so that'll keep you going all day long on a single charge, even with pretty intensive demanding use. It wasn't until I busted out the camera, started shooting a lot of 8K video and 200 meg images that the battery started to drain a bit faster, but frankly, unless you're going to be shooting yourself an entire Baz Luhrmann epic in a single day, you should be fine. And of course, if it looks like the 12T Pro is about to just give up and die before the end of the day, well, no worries at all. You've got that 120 watt fast charge support, so just bung a cable in and it'll be back up to full in no time at all. Although sadly, no wireless charging support on here, which is a shame. It's another area where Xiaomi has just cut the specs a little bit in order to bring the price down. And now, finally, the camera tech. And Xiaomi is indulgent in some serious schlong swinging right here with a 200 meg Samsung HP1 sensor. That's second in the 200 meg stakes, only behind Motorola's Edge 30 Ultra. Now you won't get 200 meg images every time you hit that shutter button. In the regular auto mode, you've got 16:1 pixel binning, which gives you 12.5 meg photos. This level of pixel binning is good for more ambient conditions. It generally means brighter results with less noise, and it works well for everyday snaps. The phone can handle harsh contrast without cacking itself, and colors aren't boosted either. It is very impressive stuff all around. If you dive into the more section and hit Ultra HD, this will then capture 50 megapixel photos using 4:1 pixel binning. So the image resolution goes up from 4096 by 3072 all the way up to 8192 by 6144. And the image capture is still nice and swift, although there is a bit of processing downtime, so don't exactly expect burst shooting here. So at least you don't have to hang around while your arm grows stiff, and this mode still works well in lower light situations, and colours only appear slightly less natural than with that 16:1 pixel binning. Alternatively, if 50 meg still isn't sharp enough for you, well, you can hit this 200 megapixel icon right here at the top, and this will step it right up into ludicrous mode. And even when shooting a 200 megapixel image, the Xiaomi 12T Pro is again pretty nippy, and yes, you get that processing downtime where you can't really do much. But it certainly seems faster than Motorola's Edge 30 Ultra, and yeah, just all around very impressive stuff. And as long as you're not shooting at that crazy resolution, you do have eye autofocus, as you can see demonstrated on the lovely Veronica here, and again this works really well for living subjects. Locks on immediately, it isn't disturbed by fast, jerky motions, and you've got the usual portrait mode shenanigans too. Sadly, the other camera lenses slapped here on the back end of the Xiaomi 12T Pro, not particularly thrilling. You've got an 8 megapixel ultra wide angle and a 2 megapixel macro sensor. No telephoto or other posh stuff like that, but to be fair, with the 200 megapixel photo mode, photos are packed with so much fine detail that you can digitally crop right into a pic and you'll still get crisp results as long as you don't go completely mental. In fact, this right here is comparable to what I saw with Sony's Xperia 5 Mark IV using its dedicated telephoto lens. And yeah, you've got plenty of other modes to play around with in here as well, including a full-on pro mode. You've got the portrait mode, as I've already mentioned. You've got a night mode to brighten up things in low light. And for your video action, you can shoot up to 8K resolution footage or 4K at 30 or 60 frames per second. And if you are the kind of person who shoots a lot of home movies, you like to record everything that goes on in your life, well, you should be more than happy with the Xiaomi 12T Pro. This thing churned out sharp, good-looking footage at 4K and 8K resolution, no issues whatsoever, with impressive stabilization and clear audio pickup. However, while I'm really happy with that HP1 camera sensor around back, the front-facing 20 megapixel selfie shooter ain't quite as impressive. You've got a pretty narrow 78-degree field of view, and this struggles in softer light, especially if your hand isn't particularly steady because you happen to be consuming a beer the size of Bulgaria. In better lighting it is fine, even with strong backlighting, although the edge detection in portrait mode can be a bit shonky. And you certainly can't shoot 4K or 8K resolution video with the 20 meg selfie cam either. You are limited to full HD at either 30 or 60 frames per second. And in more ambient light, everything does look a little bit noisy and crap, but it's absolutely fine for, you know, your Skyping, your Zooming, whatever. And there you have it, my lovelies. That in a nutshell is my unboxing and 3D review of the Xiaomi 12T Pro. And I gotta say, I am really liking it a lot. You've got a couple of features scrapped in order to bring down the price a bit, like the wireless charging. You got no water resistance on here either, at least no dedicated IP rating for water resistance. It might still survive a bit of a dunking in water. I'm not gonna test that out. But for movie and music lovers, for gamers, for camera fans, it will definitely do the job and it won't absolutely skint you at the same time. But of course, don't forget that Xiaomi also launched alongside the 12T Pro the regular 12T, and this replaces the 200 meg camera with a 108 meg sensor, and you've got a MediaTek Dimensity chipset slapped in there instead of Snapdragon, which should still be very capable indeed, should be absolutely fine for all your gaming needs. And hopefully that camera tech will still be a winner as well. I am hoping to, again, get my hands on the 12T and give that a full, thorough going over soon, so stay tuned for more and all of that shenanigans. Please do poke, subscribe, and ding that notifications bell to be the first to see more tech stuff. And have yourselves a bloody wonderful rest of the week. Cheers, everyone. Love you.